welcome to Launch Left.
Welcome to Launch Left.
It's welcome to Launch Left again for us because we are just doing these
back-to-back welcomes.
Yeah.
Back-to-back welcomes. Launch Left is a space for famed creatives to launch the next wave of music rebels. It's also an intentional space to highlight and empower all artists for whom radical creativity is not a choice, but a necessity. We're all about those artists outside the box. Go for it, Summer.
Left of center.
Tell us what we got. Speaking of which, wait a second. This is also a special new segment.
Yeah. Oh, what is it? Is this
Rain
and
and
Summer launch?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the first time we're sharing with you a launched artist that we've chosen for you to hear. And what is their name?
This is Clarke and the Himselves.
Clarke and the Himselves.
One person band.
Yeah. One woman band, Clarke and the Himselves. And she performs live in the studio here.
It's true.
So you guys are going to get a live performance as well. Really special artist, somebody that we feel so privileged to launch. So we hope you enjoy the show. You'll rate and subscribe. Follow us on all socials. What's our social handle?
I think it's just at Launch Left.
You got it. You got it. At Launch Left on all socials.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Clarke and the Himselves coming up. Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
Welcome to the show. This is Rain. That's Summer. Welcome to the show. We are in Los Angeles as per usual. And
yeah, we haven't gone anywhere.
We've been bashing each other back and forth off mic, but as soon as they say it's recording, we get shy and a little more demure about it. Summer's trying to think of an insult. Look at her. She's trying to think of an insult. I could tell. She was just sitting there going, what can I say that's mean to her right now?
Well,
Couldn't do it.
I wouldn't have to think very hard or long.
No, obviously, because you haven't yet said anything. Dare ya.
Lucky enough, we're here in the studio today.
That's right. And today we have sitting with us across the table, Clarke and the Himselves. Is that how you say it?
That's the band name, yeah.
So how do we say your name?
My name is Clarke.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I knew that already. I just thought I'd ask you.
It's good to bring it up.
Yeah, just get the, get it out in the open. So Clarke, welcome to our show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We love you. We think your music's really cool.
Oh,
and
cool.
We're so stoked that we get to see you perform live in the studio today. So that's a real special thing. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you came upon music or how you decided you wanted to even play music.
Oh, I don't know. That's how I've been playing music since I was, I guess, like a little kid. And I took piano lessons when I was like 6 because there's like a piano in the house I grew up in. And then it was just like one of those things around. But I really wanted to play guitar, and I got a guitar when I was 11, and then I started a band with some of my friends. But I don't know, I was just drawn to it. It wasn't like any sort of conscious thing at all. It just kind of happened.
That's the best way.
And now you play in a band all by yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And did you kill the other members of your previous band, and that's why you had to go it alone?
So violent. Why do we have to get so violent?
I didn't mean.
No, I didn't kill anybody.
Thank you. It's a peaceful show, Summer.
But I've played in a lot of bands with people, and that actually started with my friend Demi when we were living at this place called Grandma's House, which is like a house show house in Boise, Idaho, and she was playing drums too, and I was playing the drums also, and then like kind of guitar, and it was like it was more rudimentary than it is right now. And at a certain point where we were doing that, I figured out that I could hold a drumstick in my hand and play guitar at the same time. And then we're going to do that. And that was actually going to be a different band, which sort of ended up being Clarke and the Himselves and Friends, which is like the full band version, kind of. Like I still do the same thing. There's just more people. And they're all in Boise, Idaho still. They're still alive. But I ended up doing the thing by myself because it just sort of worked out.
And naturally. You're based on the West Coast now. You're here in LA?
I'm here in LA, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I really have nothing.
I've been here for like a year and a half.
Do you like it? How are you enjoying
I like LA. I enjoy it. It's really interesting right now. It hasn't all been great, but that's how it goes. So it's fine. It's good enough.
Life, right?
Yeah,
It's
life.
never all great.
Life's not all great.
No.
But it is great sometimes.
We could do like an uplifting commercial. Life. It's not all great.
Well, there's hills, yet there's valleys. There's,
Which part's
Yeah.
good?
dark,
the hills
light.
or the valley?
Well, I think it's kind of both, right? In the way that, like, okay, we think that the valleys are the down times, but unless there was valleys, we couldn't have hills to see the beautiful views
Yeah.
from.
You need the comparison. You don't even realize what a valley is unless you have the hill.
Yeah, you don't have spring without winter.
Do you miss your friends and do you have family as well in Boise or?
I have mostly friends. I guess I have a little family. But I mean, I miss my friends, but I'm also, I haven't lived in Boise I've lived in like a myriad of other places. Like I've kind of just been really just like touring a lot since 2013. I haven't necessarily been in Boise the whole time. And so I still see my friends there, but I have friends elsewhere in the country also.
Do you like being a road dog, so to speak? Like, do you love being on the road, or is it difficult?
I really love it. I used to love it. I mean, I like it a lot. And I went on tour for the first time. I moved to New Orleans in 2011. And then I did this like 25-day tour moving down there. And then for like a number of years, for me, like 4 or 5 years after that, I used to always tour by myself. And I got used to that. And there was something about, and it was mostly driving out west, but also like sometimes in the east. But there's something about just like being by yourself, like in America. It's really beautiful, like in the middle of nowhere, in like a car, like driving to a show. And it was kind of, I enjoyed that. And I enjoy going on tour. Sometimes, yeah, I don't know. I think I enjoy it. Sometimes it's not enjoyable, but then it's like the valley hill situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's life. It's not all good.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
Are you excited that like the band can never really break up? I guess you could disassemble, but
Yeah, I guess I it's kind of like that situation. I've thought about like that, like if it came to an end, but it's somewhat integrated into myself, at least a little bit, so it doesn't, the band, I guess it can't really break up.
do you fight with the other members of you?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate. Definitely.
It's like a war zone.
So you started playing
knew
when you
there
were
was
12
violence in this.
officially, is that right? You said you got a guitar at 11 and like as far as a band around 12 or started playing?
I mean, I was in a band with my friend Tuck and my friend Brett, and Tuck lives in London now, but we still make music together, and he's like an audio engineer, so he works on a lot of my albums. And then I think like the day I got an electric guitar, we started this band that we were in for like maybe like 5 years, and that's kind of how I learned to play music. Like we would like practice every weekend, like twice a week. People actually really liked us. And then I don't know, that's how I started playing music. And I think most of my friends are like musicians, and I kind of came out of like, I don't know, I'm just like surrounded by musicians. It's just how it worked out.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, lucky you. That's great.
Yeah,
You're really doing it. You're doing great.
thank you.
Did you have a question?
I did have a question, but you usually like to ask a few questions.
I do.
So I thought that you
I'd
were
love
gonna-
to ask you, one of my questions is who do you feel you were greatest influenced by, or top 2 people that in music or art, anything that inspired you to be a musician?
I thought about this question. I listened to your podcast, and I picked up on that you asked people this question.
Oh, great. You're predictable and boring, just like I always
I'm
knew.
prepared. That's what I am.
My sister.
Oh, no.
Everybody.
She's pretty.
Okay.
not you.
Sorry, I was taking that the wrong.
No, she was talking to me.
You're one-
Always.
yeah.
Don't worry. If there's a dig, it's always for me.
Okay, I got that.
That's good that you clarified, because Clarke was, wow, that would have been
Very
very upsetting.
insensitive.
I know, that would have been terrible.
So I have a lot of musical influences, like, but I think I'm also I'm also like really big into film too. I've made like a lot of music documentaries. I think for like a long time, or I still do. Like I was into like directors and like making movies, and I think probably like my biggest influence is actually like Stanley Kubrick. I was really obsessed with him when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And I think it was like Eyes Wide Shut was one of the first movies I like remember watching, which is weird. Like I remember watching that movie when I was like 8 years old.
Wow.
It was kind of a intense movie to watch.
Yes, very much so.
And I got really into Stanley Kubrick, and I know a lot about him, but he's kind of like a hero of mine. I don't know how that translates.
That's great because it inspired you
music.
somehow. Right?
Yeah. Well, there was a thing I was gonna say that in terms of what I do with Clarke and himself, and like the drums and guitar thing, it's kind of like and I was never like consciously thinking about this, like what was going on, but I think it's kind of like a back to basics sort of like rock and roll thing. Like it's very, like it looks impressive, but it's very simple what I'm doing, like when it comes down to it. And just, and Stanley Kubrick had this thing where he won like a lifetime achievement award from the Directors Guild, where he was making this speech and he told everyone to like don't forget about like the pioneers of our field, like the Cecil or the D.W. Griffiths or whatever, like the first person to like invent like the close-up shot, or like all these like basic simple principles that we all take for granted now that it's been like, 70 years or 80 years when it was then. And like he was just like, when he was like talking to filmmakers, but he was like, it's important to remember like these basic principles, like, and come back to them. And like those are like the pillars of like whatever you're saying. But I think about that like with music too, and like rock and roll, like there's a very basic things, like these pioneers, like the like the Little Richards and like Elvis Presley's or whatever. Like
absolutely the same 5 chords.
Yeah, or 3 chords even, like I don't know, whatever. There's like very basic, or actually I think 5 chords is the key. Devo has like a 5 chord thing, and I think they're really on it with that one.
Yeah.
I think you're right with 5 chords. But I think that's true, also true for rock and roll, and I think people should really remember like the pioneers and like the basic principles of like what goes on with it.
Yeah.
I love that. Strip
High
down
five from there.
Oh.
Boom. Okay, and then currently, who are you listening to?
That feels like a really broad question. Let's like maybe.
I can answer it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Slade and like Warren Zevon I've been listening to lately. And then I got they were just like within the last couple of weeks I started listening to Harry Nilsson again a lot. I think that Nilsson Schmielson, I think that's my favorite album, or it has been classically. I think it's my favorite album. So I've been listening to that. And it's been really good.
My friend got me that on vinyl a while ago for my birthday.
Yeah, I actually just got that on vinyl like a week ago.
So cool.
Because I was thinking about it. I was like, I should have this record on vinyl or on a record.
Yeah, so you can just like throw it on.
So you can play Frisbee with it.
Yeah. And we'll just like throw it on while you're in the car touring by yourself.
Yeah, on the vehicle record player.
Exactly. Is there any music that you don't listen to with other people around, like maybe guilty pleasure, or that's my question.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of shame, so I think I'm willing to put on whatever in front of everyone and tell them how much they suck for not liking it if that happens.
Plus, that question on a public forum also seems like if someone's going to make up a person that they're not ashamed of because everyone's, potentially listening. So the question is for like, who do you secretly listen to? Well, actually, everybody, I secretly listen to.
No, it wasn't like a secret thing. It was like, what's your guilty pleasure?
Right. No, I knew what you meant, but I also thought
but you just wanted to like get on.
If I was, I was trying to.
Yeah, it didn't really work.
If I was asked that question, I'd quickly try to think of someone I was okay with publicly listening to in private. I wouldn't say like
that's because
Whitney Houston. You know what
are constantly living in a shame spiral. Now, well, that's true.
My sister, everybody.
I love her. Is there any like intimate music that you listen to, like specifically like when you're getting intimate?
When she snaps her finger, she means like
getting intimate,
hooking up,
physical.
Yeah.
Or emotional intimacy. I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, Is there like mood music that you always go back to and go like, oh yeah, this?
I mean, like, I don't know. I guess I listen, you know, I don't really split the difference too much. And like, if I wanted to get intimate, I would probably put on some like Warren Zevon or something. I don't know. Or I don't know. I mean, that's like, that's the music. I listen to music that like makes me really excited and like just kind of like, you know, when you like wake up in the morning and like put on a song and it's just like everything you need. And so I like listening to music. Like I go with like long periods of time not listening to music also too. Like I'm not listening to music all the time, really.
Did you have braces? You have great teeth.
I did have braces.
Good job, orthodontist. Did you wear your retainer?
I didn't actually. I really hated the orthodontist. And they made me. I had like a permanent retainer, but after you get your braces off and they put in this like permanent thing, and they did not inform. This was like when I was like 14 or something like that. They did not inform me, and they informed me after they had put it on, like, oh, this is going to be on you till you're like 21 or 22. And it was like, why you didn't tell me that, like when you put it in there. And then I had like an actual retainer, which I didn't wear. So actually, I'm a really bad person. I actually ripped out the permanent retainer when I was 17. It like started coming undone, and it was like poking me in the mouth, and I ripped it out physically. And I think there's still actually glue on the back of my teeth.
Your teeth look great.
Yeah, they do look great. So
thank you.
Beautiful smile.
Yeah. No one has to know that. I mean, now they do. Everyone has to know it.
There's glue on the back of my teeth.
No one.
That's where I got my magic powers from.
We have the power of editing on the show, and no one needs to know that. Although it's kind of funny, so it might be on the show. I have one more question I have one question because for me, it's those three. I have three questions I always want to ask. Who influenced you? Who are you listening to now? And then also in terms of what's going on in the world today, all the life, not always so great.
Yeah.
All the not so great things, you know, on the political and social political and personal and global environmental and all the things that people care about. What is the thing that you're most passionate about and champion or feel like you care about the most? Or is there one thing or many? Or
it's hard to say exactly. Well, I don't know. I just kind of thought of, and it goes back to it's like I just care that people are like interested in shit, you know, like whatever they happen to be into, like they should just get into that. There's like, I mean, there's so many things I could say about what's going on with the earth right now, or like politically, or like just like people in general in their kind of long subjects. But that goes back to the Stanley Kubrick thing. Like he was like, I'm a high school dropout, and I think Stanley Kubrick, or maybe he wasn't a high school dropout, he just wasn't any good at it. But he was always like, people should just like learn what they're interested in, you know, otherwise it doesn't even matter. Like you're just wasting your time. And I think that is an important thing. And I feel like if people were more engaged, like into their surroundings, like then like maybe that could swing the other way. But like at least, you know, if what you're doing is bad and you're doing a good job at it, like maybe that's commendable. But I just don't think people are like very into it, and I think they're like, it would maybe benefit everything if people were a little more interested. I think it would make whomever happier as a person, and
so
then in turn that would make the world happier. Maybe, I don't know.
You mean if people chose their passions as their life path as opposed to followed some norm step by step, or is that what you mean when you say what you're interested in?
No, well, I guess it could be. I wasn't meaning that exactly, but I just mean like, I feel like people are very disengaged with their surroundings. Like there's and it's not, and it's kind of, like, I don't know. Maybe I was just avoiding the question.
That's okay. You can also say, what's the word you say when no comment?
Yeah.
You could just say no comment.
I thought your answer was excellent.
I just
You're doing great.
Yeah, I think just with like not even career wise or not even like education wise or just like anything, like just like what is this table made out of? Like what is this? I don't know. this is a stupid example, but there's
Just
this,
be
there's
interested
just
in
like
life.
all of these things in the world going on, and I think, you know, even right now it's like we're living in this, like, you know, there's like apocalypse, like species apocalypse. Like, what is it, like 75% of most of the species have, you know, there's this, like, this huge decimation of life that's going on right now, and they're dying because people aren't interested in them. Like, they don't give a shit about like the animals in the ocean, or like, or whatever, you know, or like the water they're drinking, or like their surround. And I think we could maybe have like a little more control over things if people are, because it's awareness, right? Like if you're interested in
Yes.
something, you're aware of it.
So now I get it. That's kind of what you're saying. It's like awaken,
Yeah.
be aware.
Sort of, but it takes effort to
Interest.
that. But if you're
Yes.
interested in it, it feels good.
Right.
It feels like it doesn't take any effort.
Right. It's something you're Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I'm slow, so you'll forgive me.
It's
I'm
okay.
surprised my sister didn't highlight how slow I am.
What are the charms on your necklace?
Oh.
Do they have any meaning?
They do, kind of. This arrowhead, it was made by my friend William's father, George. And it used to be worn by my friend Blake Green, and he gave it to me in a moment of crisis. He took it off of his head and put it around my head, and I wear it. And then this other one, it's a tetragram, which has a lot of symbols on it, and then on the back goes Santa Muerta, which they say is protective for trans people. Or someone said that. I don't know.
They said it and you're like, I'll take it.
Yeah. I don't want to take any chances.
Fair enough. There's enough danger out there.
You were saying about traveling alone, touring, right,
Yeah.
across the country, and how beautiful it was, and not so great sometimes too.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't really do that. I don't think I could do that anymore as much as I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if you were ever scared.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I've only been openly, like, it scares me. Like I used to regularly tour in the South, like by myself. And that seems like a bad idea now.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like, it's okay, but it's just like those weird moments, like along that highway, like just weird spots in the highway. I don't know. It's just weird. And I'm way more hesitant to do, like, I came out as transgender, and I've been on hormones, I think, for like the last 3 years maybe or something. And I am a lot more hesitant to do that now, even that, and I try not to do that, but it also ends up like, it's like I can just, like, if I want to go on tour, like all it takes is convincing myself to do it. And actually I haven't been touring a lot in the last year, but I still have gone on tours by myself. Like, it kind of ends up that, like, in spite of everything, like, oh shit, I guess I have to drive to like all these places by myself for the next week. And it's not like, I don't know, there's something there, you know, that movie Strangers in Paradise, the Jim Jarmusch movie. So that movie's all about like they're trying to go to these new places or whatever, but they're hanging out with the same people in like the old places. And so the new places are exactly the same as the old places, because you're bringing the same people. And like, that's like that, like, antithesis of like traveling. Like I thought, like, if you like going on tour is like traveling, and you should travel by yourself, because then you got into like situations you wouldn't, like, if you bring other people with you, it's just going to be like the same thing. And then so like when I first started touring, I was all about like going by myself, because I wanted like that randomness that happens like by yourself. But I think now I'm kind of into like having the same thing. Like, I think the same thing is kind of nice sometimes.
Crave a little bit more of familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
I can't even imagine what it's like. I've been hearing there's like a rise. I don't even want to talk about it on air, because my friend just recently had a friend of theirs, but so I'm not going to, but was really assaulted in New York horribly, and that there's like a rise in this kind of male, it's called like, it's already called something, where it's sort of like this crazy masculine, this was a woman that just got horribly assaulted in New York, and that the police said there's a rise in it because they're being like, there's enough feeding of that online of sort of
there is, and they're being baited, and and it's very like in terms of like transgender people are extremely marginalized thing in it, and it really upsets me to hear like people need to be conscious, when they're like I don't know, and it depends like who you are. It's just like like people are getting like attacked in the streets, and even if like whatever you're saying, even if you just have to be really careful what you say, because it's you don't want to encourage anyone,
exactly.
Like, and I think people are being encouraged,
right?
And people are encouraging other people, like not even being unconscious of it, they're just kind of doing the thing.
I also wonder too if some of it has to do with just that we are talking about it more, and in some ways that's a positive thing, and in other ways it can encourage, right? Because I mean, when I was a teenager in Florida, I remember a close friend was a woman, got like riding her bike back from a club one night, but she was like a quote unquote dyke, you know what I mean? And so she got beat up, like some rednecks just pulled their truck over and almost killed her, like just beat the. And it's like, that was, so shocking then, but it wasn't something even at the time anyone was talking about. Like, there was such a marginalized group of people that I was friends with at the time that you didn't even hear about. Now we talk about it more, right? So it's out in the news more. And then in a weird way, I wonder if it's like there's a positive to that, but then that also creates you know what I mean?
Totally.
Some people get mad about it.
It's both sides. And now you have,
we won't necessarily.
There's like people talking. I don't know. I mean, at least in terms of transgender people, there's a lot of people talking about it. I wish they would just like kind of shut up, because they don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
All right. It was just so lovely to have you in. Thank you so much for being here with us, for talking to us and
sharing your music.
Cool. I think it was great for me too. It was lovely being in here.
We feel lucky that we got to reign in summer launch Clarke and the Himselves.
Ow!
I try to speak, I try to think, but something's gone, something's gone. I try to read inside of me, but something's wrong, something's wrong. What can you see? What can you see? What you trying to be? What you trying to be? What can you see? What can you see? What you trying to be? What you trying to be? You want me nothing when no one sees. You won't believe no one. I try to speak, I try to think, but something's gone, something's gone. I try to read inside of me, but something's wrong, something's wrong. What can you see? What can you see? What you trying to be? What you trying to be? What can you see? What can you see? What you trying to be? What you trying to be? What can you know? What's in front of me? What's it coming to? Was it up to you? But can you know what's it supposed to be? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You'll soon find out, you'll see. You'll soon find out, you'll see. You'll soon find out, you'll see. I try to breathe, I try to pause. It's in my thoughts, it's in my thoughts. Is it the same to me as the same to you? What's it coming to? What are you gonna do? I'm getting lost, I'm getting lost. It's catching up to you, it's catching up to you. I'm getting lost, I'm getting lost. It's catching up to you, it's catching up to you. You want me nothing when no one sees. You won't believe no one. I try to breathe, I try to pause. It's in my thoughts, it's in my thoughts. Is it the same to me
soon find out, you'll see.
LaunchLeft aims to create an intentional space that highlights and empowers all artists for whom radical creativity is not a choice, but a necessity. LaunchLeft begins with music, but its ultimate aim is to launch left-of-center artists in all creative fields.
Everybody. Who's out there?